Can you still make millions using the Perico heist as a beginner in 2025? Well, in today's video I purchased the Casaca and attempt to use the Perico heist to do just that, on my quest to master GTA 5 before the next game releases. This is episode 3 of GTA 5 Online Rags to Riches. To start, I needed to head over to a music symbol on the map. Here we entered a nightclub which I had to pay an extortionate $150 to get into. Once inside, we were introduced to Miguel Madrazo. He needs us to steal back some incriminating evidence on his family from El Rubio. And once he stopped yapping, the game finally gave me the ability to purchase the Casaca. In the last episode, we made over $4 million using the agency, which means I can now purchase the Sparrow as well as the Casaca. You don't exactly need the Sparrow to do the Perico heist, but I'm told it makes things a lot easier. After spending all my money, I then flew over to where my new submarine was. Here I was introduced to Pavel, the crazy man who helps you operate the sub. He gave us some very helpful information.
Touch this, and we all die.
And then it was time to start the setups. The first and arguably most important part being the heist intel. We started by heading over to the airport so that we could get a plane to Cayo Perico. On the way, Kiwi was very determined to get there first. And not long after, we arrived at Cayo Perico. After landing, we were introduced to El Rubio. Somehow he bought our story that I was the tour manager of a German band performing at the party, and then I had to drive Dave and El Rubio over to the beach party. Here we did some dancing and then had to sneak our way out of the party, meaning we could finally start gathering some intel for the heist. We needed to search the island for anything worth stealing, the main item being the Madrazo files and then any other drugs and money we could find. This is where I was very glad to have Kiwi helping. Finding things like the entry and escape points were stuff I had no idea how to do. But after about 20 minutes of taking photos of helpful things, the first setup was done and we were finally ready to fly back to Los Santos. For the next setup, we needed to choose how we were going to enter Cayo Perico. Kiwi said the best way was using my Casaca, so that's what we went with. This meant we needed to head over to a Merryweather test site, where they were testing some sonar jamming equipment on a submarine, which we needed to steal. Having this would make entering Cayo Perico on our own sub much easier. I started by diving underwater and entering the submarine. Once on board, I did some blasting, died, did some more blasting, and stole the sonar jammer off a desk. This meant I could book it out of there as quickly as possible back to Kiwi's Sparrow, which we then used to deliver the sonar jammer back to my Casaca. Pretty easy. Next, we needed to gather the equipment for the heist. Everything except the demolition charges. We started with a safe code. This would allow us to break into the safe that holds the Madrazo files during the heist. We made our way over to the casino. Here we needed to steal the safe code off of El Rubio's head of security, who was having a party. We located his car in the car park of the casino and stole the penthouse keycard out the trunk. This allowed us to break into the penthouse where he was partying. Once inside, we went in very loud. We cleared out all of the guards until we found the head of security. I could then search him for the safe code.
God damn it.
I could then search him for the safe code.
No. Oh my god.
I could then search him for the safe code.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this went on for ages before Kiwi eventually let me grab the code. We then booked it out of there as quickly as possible, and after escaping the police, we got away with the safe code. The second piece of equipment we needed was the fingerprint cloner. This would allow us to bypass the fingerprint scanners that guard the vault. We first needed to head over to a warehouse. Here we could break in, shoot up some guards, and then hack a laptop.
Oh yes, perfection.
This would reveal the location of the fingerprint cloner. We then arrived at said building and broke in. I just walked around until my character magically found the fingerprint cloner. Yeah, I don't know why it's that easy, but hey, we booked it out of there and that mission was done. The final piece of equipment we needed was the cutting torch. This would allow us to break into the drainage tunnel when entering Cayo Perico. Apparently you can find the cutting torch at most construction sites around Los Santos, so we arrived at one nearby and started sneaking our way in. Once we stole a hard hat, apparently that instantly made us look like we belonged, and we could start searching for the cutting torch. That was until we were somehow spotted and it was straight to blasting. We did however manage to find the cutting torch and started to make our way out of there. This was nowhere near as easy as I thought it would be, and Kiwi decided to make things even harder. Which resulted in him dying and us having to blast our way back to the cutting torch, stealing it for a second time. Kiwi still insisted on getting his forklift back to the Casaca. However, once I arrived, he mysteriously died again before he could make it there. And on the coast, I found a very crispy forklift. Yeah, I don't know how that happened. But with that, we had all the equipment we needed for the heist. Finally, we need to get our weapons. I purchased suppressors for only $5,000 and then started the conspirator setup. Each of these different setups gives you different weapons, with the conspirator being Kiwi's favourite, so that's what we went for. We needed to head to a building where we could steal the weapons from a gang. This would mean they were unregistered with no trace back to us. I landed the helicopter in a very safe and totally not glitchy location, and we entered the building through the roof. Once inside, it was straight to blasting, shooting anyone in sight until we cleared out all of the guards. Kiwi then hacked a laptop which allowed us to open the gun locker. This meant we could steal the weapons we needed to make our way out. Once back on the roof, my helicopter had become slightly glitched.
We might be in a predicament.
I would say this is perfectly fine.
This conveniently teleported us to the ground, where we could grab a new helicopter and make our way back to the Kasaka. Very simple. And with that, we had done all of the setups needed for the heist. Now, before we could start the main heist, we needed to wait for my friend Harry to get online. He claims he's a Cayo Perico expert, so I plan to do the main heist with him. In the meantime, me and Kiwi decided to do some Madrazo missions that were on triple money for the week. These missions are mostly just assassinations, so they're pretty simple. And they become even more simple when you have Kiwi on his oppressor. Because this man could get to each location so quickly, he was completing the entire mission before anyone else could even get there. This meant that not long later I'd made an extra $800,000. So I decided to spend it on maxing out my bunker, which would come in helpful in the long term. Just before Harry came online, I decided to modify my Sparrow. It now had missiles and looked a lot cleaner. Very nice. And after showing these off to Harry, we could finally start the Cayo Perico heist. First, we needed to make entry on the island, which we did by swimming over to the drainage tunnel. Here we used the cutting torch from earlier to cut through the gate and make our way in. Once inside, my only goal was to not get spotted, so while following closely behind Harry, we made our way as quietly as possible around the compound, taking out guards with our suppressed weapons. We then found a safe,
Ooh, fancy.
and I stole some money from it. I then used a key I accidentally found before the mission to steal a gun, and Harry started hacking our way into the underground vault. However, a body was found and the guards were alerted, but that's fine, we'll deal with that later. We then made our way into the underground vault where I found the Madrazo files in a safe. I could then use the code we found earlier to open it and steal the files. Nice. We then stared at a wall.
That's a great wall, rather.
And once outside again, it was straight to blasting. Harry ended up dying to the Juggernaut.
I'm dead.
I got him.
But after some more blasting, we made our way to another room where I stole some more gold.
I see. Gold bar ting.
Old Barting. Outrageous.
Then we went to another room where I stole the rest of the gold needed to fill my bag completely. It was then time to book it out of the island without dying, which was not easy.
Try not to get shot, wait for someone in a bike,
Okay. Trying not to get shot.
and then get on the bike. Right, take that bike, take that bike.
Taking the bike, taking the bike, taking the bike. There's lots of people blasting. I'm doing a wheelie.
Follow me, follow me, follow me. You're gonna have to be careful here because there are some indestructible bushes that will get you absolutely wiped off the map.
Doing a wheelie. Yeet.
Get off.
Yep, sorry.
Yeah, now you want to get off and swim as close to the seabed as you can.
Yep, right behind you.
Then once we get far enough, we can start going down into like a little crevice. Yeah, that should be it.
And with that, I had completed my very first Cayo Perico heist, netting me a total of $1.8 million. Nice. This now means that I am over the $2 million mark, which is perfect considering I want to purchase the counterfeit cash business in the next episode. My goal is to purchase all of the businesses needed to max out the warehouse inside of a nightclub, which will massively help when I eventually buy one. But before I can end this episode off, there's one very important thing we need to do. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.